G'day and welcome to There's Heresy in My 40k, a series where I take 40k minis and give them a Horus Heresy coat of paint. And the first test subject for this video will be none other than the World Eater's Chaos Lord, the leader of the Fire Riders Warband, Lord Invocatus. Now remember to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, I would greatly appreciate that. Now, onwards with the video. Now I'm going to be slightly bending the rules a little with this video in particular, and I'm going to explain why. When I originally planned to make this channel, and particularly make this series, I was dead set on Lord Invocatus being the first mini to showcase this idea. And I originally was going to paint him with the World Eater's Horus Heresy colors in mind. But while I was scrolling through my feeds, I came across several different accounts that had done this before and done it incredibly well, definitely better than me. They're definitely more talented painters than me. And while yes, you can just paint whatever minis you want, like no one really kind of owns the IP of like, oh, I can paint these minis in purple and red. No one else can. But I decided, you know, let's try something different, okay? Let's, for the time being, sideline the whole Heresy era color scheme for the World Eaters, and let's look to something else for Lord Invocatus. And that got me thinking about his lore, because the World Eaters don't really know much about him. Like, particularly when he joined, like, the Legion. Some think that he is like a recent addition to the World Eaters. You know, he rising up to the ranks, eventually leading his own warband. But others think that he's an incredibly long-serving member, since the days that they were originally called the War Hounds, prior to Angron being found and him taking charge and renaming them the World Eaters. So there we go, I had my new idea. So with that explanation out of the way, for this video, for the debut of There's Heresy in My 40k, we are painting Lord Invocatus as a War Hound. So I decided I would be painting this in two steps, Lord Invocatus and his Juggernaut separately. So starting off with the Lord himself, what would I decide to use to paint for this model? I would be using the War Hound Space Marine image as a reference point of which paints I decided would go on the mini. So, chestplate, legs, feet, arms and hands, as well as the braid that's tying up his hair would all be painted with a Latok blue and shaded with non-oil to make it a bit darker. The shoulder plates, a little piece of the chest plate that's sticking out, and parts of the backpack, as well as the plating on his chain axe, would all be painted with Corax white. The emblems on the shoulder plates, as well as Invocatus's hair, and also the shaft / handle of the chain axe, would be painted with Khorne red. The hair in particular, I decided I would give a highlight of Evil Sun Scarlet. Certain piping or tubes on his backpack, as well as on the chain axe, and a little bit of the plating in between his legs and on his feet, as shown on the War Hounds image. It is a different color that kind of separates the two. Those would be painted with Black Legion contrast. Any of the remaining metallics, such as like pipes, tubes, parts of like the chain axe, chains themselves, would all be painted with Iron Warriors, and then shaded with non-oil, and then some would be highlighted with Runefang Steel. I was going to use Stormhost Silver, but turns out I didn't have any, so Runefang Steel is at least a good enough equivalent in my books. All of the bones, such as the skulls, the decoration on his backpack, as well as Invocatus's horns, or I guess antlers with how they're positioned, whatever, those would be painted with Morghast bone. All of the skin on Invocatus would be Cadian flesh tone, then shaded with Reichland flesh shade. The eyes on the helmet would be Nocturne green, and then of course all of the trim on Invocatus, his helmet, and on his weapon would all be painted with Rune Lord brass, and then shaded with Agrax Earthshade, then laid back up again with Rune Lord brass, trying to avoid all the recess areas. So there we go with our paint selected. Let's go ahead and paint Lord Invocatus. So it's been about 3.5-ish hours, and I'm essentially 99% done with Invocatus himself. So basically all pretty much up to the standard I wanted it to be. I might do a little bit of a highlight, fix some bits up on it before I glue it all together. So I paint them all separately, so head, all of that, body, one of the leg pieces separately. So back to exposition me to explain the next step. So the second and final half of this project would be the Juggernaut. And yes, I know it does have a name. I can't for the life of me remember it, so here it is on the screen. For the rest of the video, I'm just going to refer to it as a Juggernaut because that's what it is. It's just a very special named Juggernaut. Now, how was I going to paint the Juggernaut in question? Good question, because I was originally going to mirror it with Invocatus. So if I painted Invocatus with the original plan of the Heresy era World Eaters colors, the Juggernaut would be in the same colors. And then when I changed it to War Hounds instead, it would also be painted in the War Hounds colors. But I decided I want the two to stand out. I want them to be in different colors to, like I said, stand out. They're separate from each other. They both pop out when you see them, okay? You can definitely tell them apart. They're not like one big fused conglomeration. So I looked at the actual box art for Invocatus as like a reference point, and I really liked how that is done. So you have Lord Invocatus, it is primarily red armor, and the Juggernaut in primarily black. They both stand out. So there we go. I would use that as my reference point. And when I mean reference point, I'm just going to paint the Juggernaut in the box art colors with some additions. And what are those additions? Well, on the mini itself, the Juggernaut itself, there are parts of the armor plating that have like dents or scratches on it to show battle damage. Now, what I would do with these is, to the best of my ability, is to mimic paint peeling, to show underneath the black coating is the original World Eaters Horus Heresy color scheme. There we go. I've tied it all the way back up. I'm not a full hypocrite and went against the whole point of the 40k mini, give it a Heresy coat of paint. It's there, okay? I'm only about maybe 98-99% of a hypocrite. That's better than the full 100. So, went onto Google, typed in paint peeling, had a look at a few images, and I decided, oh boy, I am not skilled enough to mimic that on a mini. So, best I'm gonna do is just paint those dents in those colors instead. I'll get there eventually, okay? I'll get there. Moving on to what I would use to paint this mini. So, armor plating, all of that is going to be in Black Legion contrast. Then to the metallic body parts of the Juggernaut, so, around the chest area, the back, the tail, the legs and the feet, they would all be in Iron Warriors, while the chains on the armor would all be lead belchers, so that the two metals kind of stick out. They're not the same shade of color. And then bits of them would be highlighted with again with Runefang steel. Then all of the trim as well as the saddle would be painted with Runelord brass, shaded with Agrax Earth shade, and then laid back up, trying to ignore the recesses with Runelord brass again. It's very similar to how I painted the trim on Lord Invocatus. And then for the emblems I was going to originally just keep it as Runelord Brass, much like how the standard Juggernaut on the Chaos Lord on Juggernaut mini is built as and displayed as. But I wanted to at least have a go at trying to mimic that glowing emblem look that the regular Lord Invocatus Juggernaut has. So I painted with a couple of layers of Uriel Yellow, shaded with Fugan Orange, and then highlighted with Fire Dragon Bright. End result being, I'm not quite there to mimicking like a glowing effect. So I'll throw that in with faces. I will aim to improve on those aspects. There's definitely, I know, like a lot of YouTube videos anywhere, teaching how to achieve that effect. Okay, I'll get there eventually. Everything with me, it's a slow journey. Like I said probably in my introduction video, I only have really one day to kind of like paint like on my own, and now I have to like share it with this channel, so personal stuff and this channel. And then for the rocky like outcrops on the mini, I originally was using Basilicanum Grey, the contrast. Wasn't a big fan of how that turned out, so I just painted over it with standard Mechanicus Grey, and then did a dry brush highlight with Grey Seer. For the little dents to show the paint peeling of the original World Eaters Horus Heresy colors, on the front like leg armor platings, what I would paint in with a Latok blue, and then for the rest, so any of like the dents on the face plates or in certain parts of like the stomach, like chest area, wherever that wasn't the front two leg plates, those would be painted with Corax White. So with all of our paint selected, it was now time to paint the Juggernaut and finish this project. So after a quick little lunch break, of course, you're a very, very hungry boy, I understand that. Now we come to the end of the video. How did it go? How did this project go? So after doing a few little touch-ups, adding some little some gravel and some grass tufts and a few extra tidbits like skulls onto the mini, also painting the rim of the base in corn red to give it its like, you know, homage to being World Eaters and all that. I present to you the final product, the War Hounds Lord Invocatus. Ta-da! There we go. Here he is in all of his World Eaters glory, my War Hounds Lord Invocatus. I am very satisfied and proud with how it looked, okay? Is it winning any Golden Demon Awards? Maybe not, but I'm not here to win awards. I'm here to just share my love of Warhammer and to share some of my painting little projects or any other stuff that I just paint in my free time with everyone on the internet here. So, very happy with how he's turned out. Also added, you know, of course, it's a World Eaters model. What's a World Eaters model without, you know, Blood for the Blood God paint on it? So, of course, around on the chain front, like chainsaw horn here for the Juggernaut in its mouth, and then on bits of like Invocatus's chain axe as well. So I'm very, very happy with how this turned out. And that is it for this video. Thank you everyone for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. This was definitely a very enjoyable project to work on, and there's definitely more coming in the future. So remember to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. And also, I am open to suggestions. Is there a particular 40k Space Marine or Chaos Space Marine mini you would like to see me paint in a Horus Heresy color scheme, or even prior to that? I have a particular one for a certain legion that went under a different name. that I have also coming up in the future. Take your pick. A lot of them didn't. A lot of them had different color schemes and names prior to their Primarch being found again. So look forward to that. But I am open to suggestions of like, what would you like to see? Like to see me paint. Of course, that time and money will have to be a factor. So it might be a while if I decide to take your suggestion and make it real. But that is all for this video. Thank you once again for watching. I hope to see you all in the next one. And don't forget, blood for the blood god, skulls for the skull throne.